Hurricane Melissa's slow, erratic track across the central Caribbean Sea was infuriating and annoying to observe. Well, for me anyway. Then when it made that dreaded curve to the north and then to the northeast, putting Jamaica in the center of our crosshairs, it was clear what the result was going to be. But true to form with Melissa, the system had one last trick up its sleeve. Instead of making landfall in the Poroti area of St. Elizabeth, it drifted along the coastline, headed west, where it slammed into the White House area of Westmoreland. Now, as strange as Melissa's track was, this is nothing new or confined to Melissa, as hurricanes and tropical storms sometimes take strange tracks.
Reach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Some tropical cyclones, however, follow obvious tracks. For example, a curve around the south and west side of the Bermuda Highs in the Atlantic Basin, or just a straight east to west buzzsaw through the Caribbean Sea. In these cases, the atmosphere's steering flow is strong and persistent enough to keep the hurricane on a steady path. Those forecast tracks are relatively straightforward. However, other hurricanes and tropical storms take stranger journeys. These tend to fall in one of three categories. They are either loopers, double-backers, or scribblers. Loopers are tropical storms and hurricanes which made at least one loop, crossing their previous path one or more times. Hurricanes Don and Margot each made such a loop over the North Atlantic in 2023. Margot's loop was small, while Don's was much broader and elliptical before it finished its track, resembling the number 6. Hurricane Juan did a double loop near or over the Louisiana coast in 1985. There are the doublebackers. These reverse course and follow a similar segment of their path. In September of 2022, Tropical Storm Gaston did it over the open North Atlantic. The most notorious recent example of a doublebacker was Hurricane Joaquin in 2015, which moved southwestward and then stalled and hammered the central Bahamas at peak intensity before moving northeast almost exactly on its previous path. And finally, we have the scribblers. Scribblers are the strangest of the bunch as they take very chaotic paths. An example of this was Hurricane Leslie in 2018. Leslie meandered over the North Atlantic Ocean for more than 2 weeks before finally approaching the Iberian Peninsula, where it held on to hurricane strength until it was within 195 miles of Portugal. The bizarre track of Hurricane Leslie included a rough bow tie. Now, most importantly, these strange wanderers can be a major forecast challenge, as subtle changes in steering winds can mean the difference between a hurricane drifting west toward land or drifting northeast, remaining out to sea. Here is a list of more of the strangest hurricane tracks on record. Henry's total path resembled a coiled-up snake. It veered west into southern New England before it was finally caught by the jet stream and whisked away. Harvey stalled after moving into Texas as a Category 4 hurricane and then took several days to make a final landfall as a tropical storm in Louisiana. Nadine's meandering 3 weeks plus odyssey in September and early October of 2012 affected the Azores not once, but twice. Nadine strengthened to a hurricane 3 different times. Faye's slow, painful Florida zigzag wrung out over 27 inches of rainfall near Melbourne and also in Thomasville, Georgia. Faye also spawned 81 tornadoes in 5 states. The path of 2005 Hurricane Ophelia resembles not in a curved string. Ophelia became a hurricane 4 separate times and produced 4 to 6 foot storm surges in North Carolina. Hurricane Ivan's first U.S. landfall was destructive enough. Ivan's remnant then tracked from the Delmarva Peninsula south, then west into the Gulf of Mexico, where it regenerated into a tropical storm. Ivan's total track length, including its phase when it was a remnant low, was over 6,400 miles. In 2004, Hurricane Jean executed its loop east of the Bahamas before strengthening and pushing west into Florida. Its U.S. landfall was very near that of Francis earlier in 2004. Kyle was one of the longest-lived Atlantic tropical cyclones, lasting 22 days, making 2 U.S. landfalls in the Carolinas in 2022. Due to Dennis's erratic loop of the North Carolina coast, heavy rain saturated the ground in eastern North Carolina, setting the stage for Hurricane Floyd's epic flooding. Hurricane Lenny was the first storm on record to have tracked west to east across the central and eastern Caribbean Sea. Lenny's name has since been retired from future name lists. Gordon's erratic path led to catastrophic flooding in Haiti, where an estimated 1,122 people were killed, and heavy flooding in parts of Dade and Collier counties in Florida. The second gene in the list, the 1980 version, was the first November storm to strengthen to a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. However, a cold front spelled its demise before it could make landfall. Hurricane Dawn's rear track produced very little rainfall either in South Florida or as it scraped the Georgia and South Carolina coasts. The second longest lived tropical cyclone on record in the Atlantic Basin, lasting 27.25 days, Ginger appeared to be an open water concern well east of Bermuda until it abruptly shifted west, landfalling in North Carolina. Inga's small loop was followed by a much wider circular track. Essentially, Inga dissipated near the area in which it made its first small loop. Dorian moved in every direction around the compass at some time or another during its lifespan.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!